A runny nose, watery eyes, and painful itchy hives. As you might have guessed, these are just some of the symptoms of an allergic reaction. Many things can cause such a reaction, anything from dust to pollen to foods. But some unfortunate people suffer from one of the most bizarre allergies of all, an allergy to water. It may sound outrageous or even downright impossible, but this incredibly problematic allergy is all too real. It is extremely rare, but some people really are allergic to water, and you won't believe how they live. Even if you've been lucky enough to have never been afflicted with an allergy attack, you probably know someone who suffers from allergies of some sort. Up to 30% of the world's population suffers from some form of environmental allergies like hay fever, and 250 million people worldwide have food allergies. An allergy to water is much rarer than other kinds of allergies. Officially called aquagenic urticaria, it affects around 1 in every 230 million people, and that means that fewer than 50 people in the entire world are allergic to water. Now that you know this bizarre allergy exists, you probably are wondering how on earth someone could live with a water allergy. To find out, let's meet someone who lives with this strange condition every day. Michaela Dutton was a totally normal water-drinking, shower-taking woman for most of her life, until she gave birth to her son in 2005. When she took a bath a few days after giving birth, her body broke out in excruciatingly painful hives. "The condition has placed a terrible strain on what I can do," she told the Daily Mail in 2009. "I can't really hold my son because if he sweats or dribbles or spills a drink on me, I get covered in sore, itchy lumps. I can't even wipe his tears away or bathe him." Michaela's doctors believe her allergy was brought on by hormonal changes during her pregnancy, and many sufferers are diagnosed around puberty, another time of great hormonal change. To better understand how people like Michaela navigate day-to-day life with such a bizarre allergy, let's imagine living a day in the life of a person who is allergic to water. Picture this. You wake up in the morning and you head to your kitchen. You're so thirsty, but quenching your thirst is far from simple. You would love to gulp down a cool glass of water, but you know that that's a recipe for disaster. The last time you drank water, it felt like drinking a glass of poison. Your throat felt itchy, raw, and painful for days. Instead, you chug a cold glass of milk to take the edge off your thirst. Next, you turn your attention to getting your caffeine fix. You consider making some coffee to get you going, but decide that the caffeine boost isn't worth the pain of drinking a beverage with such a high water content. Instead, you grab a can of diet soda from the fridge to satisfy your caffeine craving. Scientists aren't sure why, but diet soda and milk seem to be more tolerable to people with water allergies. Considering water is the most basic necessity of life, you'll take what you can get when it comes to hydration. 60% of the human body is made up of water. That adds up to nearly 40 liters for a 155-pound person. We need to drink at least 2 liters of water a day to stay hydrated, but people with water allergies have to get creative when it comes to their water intake. In addition to diet soda and milk, they'll also eat more foods with a higher water content like cucumbers, melons, and tomatoes. Thankfully, water inside your body is okay. It's when water comes into contact with their skin that it becomes a problem. The temperature of the water, or whether it's distilled or salinated, seems to have no impact on the allergic reaction. Contact with all types of water are problematic. Getting water into your body, though, through your mouth is challenging enough. But imagine what it would be like to try and take a shower. Now that you've hydrated and caffeinated, it's time to get ready for work. A shower is out of the question this close to work. You can't risk a reaction making you late. You're always very careful to wear light clothing and avoid getting dirty or sweaty so you can extend the time between showers as long as possible. But eventually, you have no choice but to suck it up and submit to your own personal version of water torture. Thankfully, you've become an expert in showering as quickly as possible using the Navy technique. You jump into the shower for a few seconds to get wet before turning the water off, lathering up with soap, and quickly rinsing off. You also use cold water to avoid the temptation to linger. It goes without saying that a long, relaxing bath is completely out of the question. And sadly, you've never experienced the feeling of soaking in a hot tub. You can't even remember the last time you went swimming. You may be able to get away with only showering once a week, but brushing your teeth daily is definitely not optional, and neither is washing your hands. You make do with dry brushing your teeth, using toothpaste without water, and you use a lot of hand sanitizer, which you seem to tolerate. Once you finally fight through your morning routine, you check the weather before grabbing the house. Most people like to know if there's rain in the forecast so that they can grab an umbrella on the way out, but for you, it can feel like life or death. Rain, snow, and even humidity can be enough to trigger a serious reaction when the water hits your skin. If the forecast calls for heavy showers, you'll be taking a personal day and avoiding the outdoors, a lesson you learned the hard way. You remember what happened one time when you forgot to check the weather before you left the house. It was winter, so you didn't think you needed to worry about rain. But what you didn't account for was the snow. When you left work that day, it looked like a winter wonderland outside. Everything was blanketed in pure white snow, and heavy flakes were still falling. Thanks to a strong wind blowing the flakes directly into your face and a panic-induced sweat happening under your winter layers, the winter wonderland quickly turned into your personal nightmare. By the time you got from your office to your car, your entire body was covered in painful itchy hives. The reaction left you feeling exhausted for days after, due to the rush of adrenaline you experienced during the reaction. An allergic reaction happens when your immune system overreacts to an allergen like dust, pet dander, certain foods, or, in some rare cases, water. When a person is first exposed to the allergen, their immune system's white blood cells begin to develop antibodies called immunoglobulin E or IgE. Everyone makes IgE, which circulates in our bloodstream and seeks out and destroys harmful particles like viruses. People with allergies make significantly more IgE and make it in response to everyday substances. After the initial exposure to the allergen, an allergic person's immune system will remember the last exposure and produce specific IgE for that allergen. The IgE will bind to specific receptors in the mast cells that live in our tissues, causing the mast cell to break down and release chemicals like histamine. It's the release of those chemicals that cause the symptoms of an allergic reaction. Histamine produces hives if released in the skin, wheezing if released in the lungs, and a drop in blood pressure if released throughout the body. Reactions can range from mild to severe. Mild reactions typically last a few minutes to a few hours, and the primary symptoms are a rash, swelling, and hives. In a severe reaction, which can last hours and linger for days, in addition to painful hives and swelling, the sufferer might also experience trouble breathing and lower blood pressure. The most severe type of reaction, called anaphylaxis, can be life-threatening, as the sufferer's airways begin to close and breathing becomes impossible. There are a few upsides to this strange allergy to water. Doing dishes is literally impossible for you, so you get to sit back and relax while your family takes care of all that cleaning and laundry for you. Sometimes it seems like a small consolation, though. Having an excuse to avoid exercise might also be nice, since you have to avoid getting sweaty, but you also have to avoid crying, which may seem easy to some people, but it's incredibly hard to go through life without experiencing any sadness. Try having a difficult conversation with your partner, or even watching a sad movie without shedding a tear or two. When those tears would feel like acid on your cheeks, we'd guess you opt for a comedy. After learning about how difficult life is for someone who is allergic to water, you must be wondering what kind of treatments are out there for him. Unfortunately, there are very few treatments available, and we are a long way from a cure. For some lucky people, the allergy gets less severe as they get older, but that's not the case for everyone with a water allergy. For the not-so-lucky ones, omalizumab, a drug that's already being used to treat asthma, is showing promise as an effective treatment for aquagenic urticaria. For now, the best we can do in most cases is to give people with water allergies a strong antihistamine or allergy shots to manage the symptoms of a reaction and caution them to do their best to avoid water. Easier said than done. Before you feel too bad for people with water allergies, you have to check out these other bizarre allergies. Water allergies, aquagenic urticaria, are part of a larger family of urticaria allergies. Urticaria describes the painful itchy skin reaction upon exposure to the allergen. For some people, that might be water, but people can also suffer from cold urticaria, an allergic reaction to cold temperatures, and cholinergic urticaria, an allergy to heat or sweat. It's even possible to be allergic to vibrations. Vibratory urticaria reactions are generally mild, but sufferers can experience painful skin reactions to simple things like clapping their hands or riding in a vehicle. A more extreme version of this type of allergy is exercise-induced anaphylaxis, a very rare and potentially life-threatening type of allergy where the sufferer experiences hives, respiratory, and GI distress after exercising. We guess that's one way to get out of gym class. It might seem like having a water allergy would make it impossible to go outside, but imagine living with an allergy to sunlight. In people with sunlight allergies, their immune systems recognize sun-altered skin as foreign cells and begins to attack itself, leading to painful rashes, hives, and blisters. As crazy as that sounds, experts suggest that sun allergies are actually fairly common, but often not reported. If you're one of those people who are prone to bad sunburns, you may want to talk to your doctor about a sunlight allergy. Perhaps one of the most heartbreaking allergies is dermatographia urticaria, an allergy to human touch. Any touch to the skin, however gentle, prompts the release of histamine and causes angry, itchy welts to form on exposed skin. Brooklyn artist Ariana Page Russell is trying to raise awareness about this condition, which she suffers from, by sharing her photography online. Her body is the canvas, and she uses her own touch to draw images or write words on her skin. Dermatographia literally means writing on the skin. Ariana definitely has an interesting take on that. Daily life may be a real struggle for those with an allergy to nickel. Not only do they experience a skin reaction when exposed to money, or at least the coins, they also might react to the nickel in cell phones, jewelry, zippers, musical instruments, and many other everyday objects. If you've ever suffered from allergies before, you'll definitely be sympathetic to these bizarre and unusual allergies. And if not, just be thankful that you aren't allergic to anything, especially to water. If you thought this video was fascinating, be sure to check out our other videos, like this harrowing tale titled, "I got stung 50 times by bees and I'm allergic." Or perhaps you'll like this other video. These videos will definitely make you feel grateful for your hay fever. And as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.